Do you have a project that requires straight line stitching? Well, stay tuned to today's Heart Happy tutorial. Hey y'all, this is Melissa at Mtn Quilting in Rocky Mount, Virginia. In today's Heart Happy tutorial, we're going to learn how to do straight line stitching for a project. So, I've been doing several bags here lately by using patterns from ByAnnie. And the very first step for all her patterns is you got to learn how to quilt your fabric. So you can do free motion quilting, but I thought, you know, it looks really cool if you can just do some generic straight lines. And I wanted to show you a couple of things that we can do to do that. So the first thing that you need is, of course, you're going to need your sewing machine and your favorite foot. A lot of times it's recommended that you use a walking foot, so it just really depends on your sewing machine, on what its capabilities are, on whether or not you want to add your attach your walking foot to your machine. You also need to make a sandwich, and for ByAnnie products, she always uses her soft and stable. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to lay down your main fabric, and then a piece of soft and stable, and then another fabric. Usually that's going to be your lining. The first thing we want to do is when you quilt, as you're doing your quilting, it kind of shrinks in on you a little bit, especially when you're using a foam. So what we want to do is we want to start in the middle of the quilt, and I'm going to do straight lines. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our 3 layers. I got my main fabric, I've got my soft and stable, and I've got a lining fabric in this case. I'm going to put a few pins in here just to hold it together so it doesn't shift too much. It does shift when you're quilting. So therefore, we always want to start in the center of your project. So what I did is I just took my ruler and I drew a line going down the center of my fabric here, so that I can know about where the center is. It doesn't have to be exactly in the center, but so now that we got everything pinned together, we're going to head over to our sewing machine. So here we are at our sewing machine, and what we're going to do now is we're going to add the foot, whatever foot that you like the best. I decided to go with my open toe foot so that I can see where I'm stitching. I don't know if you've ever noticed this or have seen this before. If you have a Bernina, this is a guide that will allow you to do straight stitches. So if you have a screw here in the back of your foot, which most of the Bernina feet do, you just add this to that and then you tighten it up at whatever distance you want to be away from your stitching. So in this particular case, I think a 1-inch stitch would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, go ahead and put my foot on. Alright, and then I want to measure over 1 inch from my needle. The stitch plate already does that for you. If you notice, that last line there is about 1 inch. So you loosen up your screw back here and you'd move this over to the point that you want to be at. So I'm going to be as close as I can to that right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now let's say that you decided you want to do a 2-inch stitch. Well, then all you would have to do is loosen this up and then just bring it over to the 2-inch mark. So this is going to help me, allow me to do straight stitching. Okay, so now we're going to start doing our straight line stitching. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to sew down my middle line here using whatever happens to be your favorite foot. I wanted to use my open toe foot so I can really see where I'm stitching at. It could be that you have another foot that you like better. Whichever one is fine, because this guard will actually fit on almost all of the Bernina feet. So let's start stitching. And if you notice, I'm not pushing my fabric through or anything like that. I am allowing the Bernina to pull the fabric through. And then that way we don't have a lot of shifting. You want to keep your fabric nice and smooth as you're doing it. Alright, we're at the end now. So what I want to do now is I want to turn it around and I want to go down the opposite way. Alright, so what I'm going to do to get my 1 inch is I'm going to line up my guide on what I just got through stitching. Alright, get my thread out of the way and let's do that. Alright, we're going to keep doing this over and over again until we have finished quilting our quilt. So now that we have finished our straight line stitching, isn't this tool crazy neat? That makes it awesome and a whole lot easier to do your straight lines. So now you need to decide, do I want to add some more quilting to it? It's really a personal preference whether you do or not. So you just need to pick out which way, where you want to go next. Do I want to go perpendicular, which would be I could draw my line this way and go that way, or maybe go on an angle, which I think would be really cool. You can measure from corner to corner if you'd like, but I do notice that this fabric has a pattern to it. So I think what I'm going to do is try to follow the pattern just a little bit. So just like that, I'm going to draw my line down the middle. And remember, this is my guideline so that I can start sewing my first time. And then after I do that, I'm going to use my little guide that attaches to my foot to finish up quilting. So I hope you enjoyed our Heart Happy tutorial today on straight line stitching. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate. You can reach us at Fork Mountain Quilting and we will be glad to help you. Remember, here at Fork Mountain Quilting, we love doing what makes your heart happy. So long for now, and I will see you later.